I want you to try a little mental exercise with me for a second. Pick a hobby, any hobby.
Okay.
Could be baking sourdough, maybe it's painting those tiny little Warhammer figures, or maybe just jogging. Got one?
Yep, I'm picturing it.
Okay. Now, imagine documenting that hobby. And I don't mean, snapping a blurry photo for Instagram once a month.
Right.
I mean sitting down, opening a text editor, and writing a really structured, thoughtful journal entry about it every single day.
That sounds tedious.
Okay, now double it. 2 entries. A day, every day, for 3 years straight. No holidays, no sick days, just relentless output.
That moves from tedious right into impossible for most people. I mean, most of us struggle to keep a habit for January, let alone for years.
Exactly. But today we are diving into the mind of someone who has done exactly that. We're looking at a source from keyandmeng.org.
Okay.
Specifically a post titled Notes on Gardening, Part 800. 800 Posts of My Gardening Indulgence, which just dropped today, February 7, 2026.
Part 800. Just seeing that number in a title is staggering.
It really is. The author goes by Ang, and he refers to himself as an old software plumber.
A software plumber.
And honestly, that title, software plumber, is the skeleton key to this entire deep dive. Because we aren't really talking about gardening today. We're talking about what happens when you take a brain-wired for, open source software, systems engineering, debugging, and you force it to interact with the messy, organic chaos of nature.
It's a fascinating collision. You have the engineering mindset, which is all about control, logic, binary outcomes. It works or it doesn't.
Right.
And then you have gardening, which is biological, unpredictable, and frankly, doesn't care about your logic at all.
Before we even get into the content of this 800th post, which is a quarterly review, I have to talk about the data I found in the sidebar of his blog.
You went digging.
You know me, I went all the way down. I saw part 800 and thought, okay, surely he skipped a few days. So I looked at the yearly archives. In 2023, exactly 730 posts.
Which, wait a minute.
365 days times 2.
2 posts a day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Every single day.
Okay, that is not a coincidence. That is a script. That is a human running a cron job on their life.
Right. And 2024, 732 posts.
The leap year, of course.
Exactly. And 2025, back to 730. I mean, this level of consistency is almost robotic. But he's not just writing about plants. He has notes on elixir, notes on rust, notes on fish keeping, notes on dieting.
See, that context is vital. This isn't just a guy who likes flowers. This is a person who processes his entire existence through this lens of documentation.
Yeah.
In the software world, if you don't document your code, it becomes unmanageable.
Yeah.
Ang has decided that if he doesn't document his life, it's unmanageable. He's building a searchable database of his own experience.
It's like he's running a server log for his life. And today we are looking at the log entry for the last 3 months, November 2025 to February 2026. He calls it a quarterly review.
Which, again, is such a corporate, agile development term. You don't just garden, you work in sprints, and then you stop to review the metrics.
So let's unpack this review. The headline for this quarter seems to be a shift in strategy. He moved from lab work to field work.
That's a good way to put it. For a long time, Ang was focused on propagation, making new plants, mixing soil, the hands-on coding of the garden, if you will. But in this update, he explicitly says he stepped away from that. He moved toward observation. He calls them field trips.
He started visiting nurseries, public gardens, doing these photo walks.
And there are 2 layers to this. The surface layer is health. He mentions wanting to increase his physical activity, which I'm sure we'll get to.
We will.
But the deeper layer is about input versus output. If you're a writer or a coder or any kind of creator and you only look at your own work, you eventually run dry. You get tunnel vision.
You're just stuck in your own loop.
Precisely. By going to nurseries and public gardens, he's essentially looking at other people's source code. He's seeing how other gardeners solve the problem of shade or how they arranged a specific species. It's like debugging his own creativity by looking at the production environments of the real world.
I love that. It's like, my code isn't working. Let me go see how the seniors did it.
And he frames it beautifully. He says it allows him to revisit the days of his youth amidst the urban landscape. So it's not just data gathering. It's reconnecting with the joy of the system, not just the maintenance of it.
Speaking of maintenance and acquiring new things, I have to bring up his philosophy on buying plants. He calls it the don't wait rule.
Yes.
And at first glance, I'll be honest, it sounded like he was just justifying a shopping addiction.
I swear I had to buy it. It was an emergency.
Exactly. He says, if you find a unique plant that catches your eye, buy it immediately. And I'm thinking, dang, my wallet cannot handle this advice.
It sounds reckless, but when you read his reasoning, it's actually pure supply chain analysis.
How so?
He explains that the plant market in his region relies heavily on imports from neighboring countries. So the supply is erratic. It's not like going to a supermarket where the milk is always in the same aisle.
Right. It's more like a thrift store or a vintage market.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
If you see a specific variation of a caladium or a begonia and you walk away to think about it, the chances of that specific, call it a SKU, being there next week are near zero.
He calls it leaving it to fate or serendipity,
Right.
which he clearly thinks is a bad strategy.
For a systems thinker, serendipity is just another word for poor planning. He's calculating the risk. The risk of spending, say, $10 now is low. The risk of missing the plant and never seeing it again for 3 years is high. So the logical action is to execute the transaction.
But he does have boundaries. He mentions the thin wallet constraint. He's not out there buying rare $1,000 orchids.
And that leads to the other side of his buying logic, which I found really insightful, the annual's dilemma.
Oh, this is great. This is all about return on investment.
It is. He says, most of the time I'm contemplating getting one, not due to the price, but simply because it's an annual plant.
And for those who aren't gardeners, an annual is a plant that lives for one season, blooms, and then it dies.
Right. So from a software plumber perspective, that is a bad investment. You are putting in effort, installation time, water, fertilizer, for a module that is guaranteed to deprecate and delete itself in 6 months.
It's high technical debt.
It is.
Oh.
He prefers perennials plants that stick around. He wants to build a code base that lasts, not one he has to rewrite every spring. So his hesitation isn't about the money. It's about the maintenance overhead relative to the lifespan of the object.
Such a rational way to look at a flower. I love you, but your deprecation schedule is just too aggressive for me.
Exactly.
But when he does decide to invest his time, he goes deep. We need to talk about his technical wins this quarter, specifically how he approaches learning a new plant. He talks about the coleus.
The coleus is a common plant, but Ang treats it like a new programming language. He didn't just grow it. He mastered the syntax of it. He focused on propagation via cuttings.
And he has this great line, once you gain experience with one species and understand the common principles of propagation, that knowledge is applicable to many other plants.
That is the definition of abstraction in computer science.
Yeah.
You solve a problem once, how to root a cutting, and you create a mental model. Then, when you encounter a new plant, say a begonia, you don't start from zero. You apply the cutting class you already built.
He's building a library of functions in his head.
That's right, that he can call upon later.
But my absolute favorite part of this review was the grocery store hack. This is where the software plumber really, really shines.
This is brilliant. It's grocery store science.
So he wants to get better at seed germination, starting plants from scratch, but buying seed packets from a nursery is expensive, right? You get, what, maybe 10 or 20 seeds for a few bucks?
And the pressure is high. If you kill 10 seeds that cost you $5, you feel like a failure. You become risk averse.
So what does Aang do? He goes to the grocery store.
He buys seeds meant for cooking. Dried chilies, coriander, mustard, maybe even beans. Things that are sold by the gram, not by the count.
So he gets hundreds, maybe thousands of seeds for pennies.
And this changes the testing environment completely. In software terms, he's moving from a high-stakes production environment to a low-stakes sandbox.
He says, this allowed me to hone my skills by practicing germination with much larger batches.
Just think about the data difference. If I plant 10 seeds and 5 grow, I have a 50% success rate, but the sample size is way too small to know why.
Right.
Did I overwater? Was it the soil?
But if I plant 500 chili seeds from the grocery store.
Exactly. You can A/B test, you can split testing groups. I'll water these 100 twice a day and these 100 once a day. You can afford to kill 400 seedlings because they cost you 12 cents. He's stress testing his skills.
He's running a massive simulation to fine-tune all his variables. Soil mix, humidity, light.
And once he perfects the algorithm on the cheap seeds,
he applies it to the expensive ones. He mentioned success with the peacock flower using these methods. He practiced on the dev server so he wouldn't crash the live site.
it's so smart. It removes the fear of failure. It turns failure into just data points.
Which is the healthiest way to learn anything. But, speaking of health, we have to pivot to the the darker side of this quarterly review, because
Yeah.
it wasn't all successful germination and photo walks.
No. And for a guy who projects this image of extreme consistency, this part was really humanizing. He talks about the year-end holidays.
Normally, the holidays are when a hobbyist goes nuts. You have time off work, you should be in the garden 2047. But Aang just hit a wall.
A physical wall. He lists it out like a medical chart. Relapsed knee injury, muscle spasms, repeated sickness.
It sounds miserable. And remember, this is a guy who must post twice a day. Imagine the psychological toll when your identity is built on doing, but your body is just saying, stop.
He describes it as having to go very slowly.
Hmm.
And he admits it delayed his big infrastructure project, setting up his plant racks.
This is a classic case of hardware failure. His software, his mind, his motivation, his discipline was running at 100% CPU usage. He wanted to work. But the hardware, his knee, his immune system, it just crashed.
There's a quote here that really struck me. He says, "Time has passed in the blink of an eye." Highlights how quickly time flies, especially as we get older.
That vulnerability is key. When you document every single day, you are hyper-aware of the passage of time. Most of us lose months in a blur. Aang sees the days ticking by on his blog counter, 798, 799, 800. He knows he's losing time to this injury.
But, and this is why he's our subject today, he didn't stop.
No, he didn't. He couldn't dig holes, so he walked. He couldn't build racks, so he took photos.
He couldn't move heavy pots, so he wrote reviews.
That is resilience. Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about having a backup protocol. When Module A, physical labor, fails, you switch to Module B, observation and documentation. The system keeps running.
And he reached post 800 despite the physical crash.
So let's look at where he's going next. He's at 800. What's the plan for the next 100 posts?
It's back to infrastructure. He's obsessed with getting those plant racks up. But listen to how he describes the location for them. He doesn't just say, "I'm putting them on the patio."
No, he gets technical again.
He says he has identified specific areas with ideal microclimates for germination.
Let's pause on that word. Microclimates.
In gardening, a microclimate is a tiny zone where the rules are different from the rest of the yard. Maybe it's a corner trap between two brick walls that holds heat at night.
Or a spot under an eave that never gets rain but gets high humidity.
Exactly. So it's like server optimization again.
It is. He's not just placing a server in a room. He's looking for the spot with the optimal airflow and cooling. He's matching the plant's requirements to the specific environmental variables of that 3-foot square.
He's trying to maximize his uptime growth by optimizing the physical environment.
And he clarifies, and I think this is important, that his goal for resuming these propagation projects is not for profit.
Right. In the creator economy, everyone thinks, oh, he's scaling up to sell. No. He writes, not for profit, but simply for the sheer fun of it.
He just wants to see if the code compiles.
He wants to solve the puzzle. Can I make this grow? Yes. Cool. What's next?
However, for all this talk of optimization and microclimates and databases, there's one moment at the very end of the post that made me laugh out loud.
The seeds.
The seeds. He admits he has batches of seeds, both purchased and wildly collected, tucked away somewhere.
And the quote is, "I just need to remember where I tucked them away."
The software plumber lost his data.
It's the classic cache invalidation problem. He stored the data, the seeds, for quick access, but he lost the pointer to where they're stored.
It's just so relatable, though. You can have the best system in the world. You can blog 730 times a year, but sometimes you just lose the bag of seeds in a drawer somewhere.
It grounds him. It reminds us that no matter how much we try to engineer our lives, entropy always wins a little bit. He's still human.
So we've looked at the stats, we've analyzed the buy it now economy, we've celebrated the grocery store hack. But if we zoom all the way out, what are we really learning from Aang, the software plumber?
I think it comes back to the title of his whole project. Notes. Aang isn't just gardening. He is engaging in active learning. Most people garden passively. They plant, they hope, they forget. Aang plants, he observes, he records, and he analyzes.
By writing it down, by creating that note, he forces himself to process what actually happened.
Exactly. He converts experience into data. And because he does it every single day, that data compounds. He's a better gardener today than he was at post number 1, not just because of time, but because of the rigor of his review process.
It's the difference between driving a car for 10 years and being a race car driver who studies the telemetry after every single lap.
That is a perfect analogy. He is studying his own telemetry.
So here's my challenge to you listening right now. I asked you at the start to picture a hobby.
The sourdough, the running.
Think about that hobby. What would happen if you applied just 10% of Aang's software plumber mindset to it?
You don't have to blog twice a day. Please don't feel pressured to blog twice a day.
Lives. No, don't do that unless you're Aanging. But what if you started a change log? What if you wrote down why the bread failed? Or bought the grocery store version of your materials to stress test your skills?
What if you stopped waiting for serendipity and started building your own microclimates for success?
That's the thought I want you to walk away with. You don't have to be an engineer to build a system for your joy. You just have to be willing to take notes.
And maybe remember where you put the seeds.
That too. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Go make some notes.
See you next time.